decision to invest in Jamaica or somewhere else. To start, we found those everyday services in highest demand, the ones Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora frequently need. We took the services non-residents and investors frequently need, and we've started by creating a gateway to those services online. Gov.jm will allow those seeking to do business with government to find what they need faster. Whether you want to know how to apply for a passport, pay taxes online, register a business, or find out your health benefits under the Health Fund program. Information is grouped so that the user knows where to go right away, whether he's a resident, non-resident, or an investor. And this is the kind of information, the kind of service that will gain Jamaica international rankings for e-government. We're still at the early stages. The gateway currently now indexes some of the services available online and provides clear navigation to them. But Gov.jm will never stop evolving. It is the customer feedback about information they need that will guide the evolution of Gov.jm. Over time, we'll work to bring more and more services online and create a standard online schema for all government.
Oh, good morning.
So where you off to now?
I am off to my office. From a bomb busy people fast. Then I went him off office.
With free Wi-Fi in Junction, Mandeville, Olympic Way, Halfway Tree, Devon House, and coming soon to Emancipation Park, the Universal Service Fund is empowering Jamaicans through technology.
The Wi-Fi will government provide here fast like lightning. Oh, help me to get through my work quick.
The Universal Service Fund, bridging the information gap. Internet access for everyone.
Around the world, information and communication technologies, or ICTs, are empowering millions of people and helping to secure a brighter future for all. ITU's Telecommunication Development Sector, or ITUD, is working with global and regional partners to fundamentally improve people's lives through ICTs. This vital work is essential to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Here is a glimpse of some life-changing projects around the world. Schools are like trees with many branches. The Connect a School, Connect a Community project in Comoros has improved internet access for students as well as their communities. Teachers are trained in ICTs and in turn teach others how to use computers and the internet, spreading their knowledge far and wide.
En masse connecté dans le monde. Connecter, c'est déterminer le monde, c'est améliorer les connaissances et créer des emplois.
Walk on world, heading to the ATM, come me just get paid, and me need some fresh clothes and a new shoes, and everything after that I got spicy. Bro,
so you mean to tell me say you're going to show all your followers the debit card information just like that? Never display personal information such as credit card numbers, debit card pins, passports, and your home address online, or send it to anyone on social media.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Have mercy. It's weird, do you know? You make me catch a virus. Even if your friend send you the link, if it looks suspicious, no click it, so.
Beware of suspicious links. Hackers can steal your personal information or login credentials with the use of embedded links.
Please to take me to the doctor.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Searching online is what most of us do every day. Information is the world's new currency, and the provision of quality information is what is setting businesses, governments, and even countries apart. And when we search, we're looking for information that is accurate, easy to understand, and relevant. And we expect to get there in 3 clicks. The Jamaican public sector is delivering numerous services every day to clients locally and abroad. Clients who cannot afford to waste neither time nor money searching through hard-to-find information. Introducing gov.jm, the gateway that will become the single online space for accessing information on government services in a way that is simple and seamless. Through the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTM, gov.jm is placing the needs of our clients at the center. By placing vast government information in one place, we are making it easier, faster, and simpler for our clients and potential clients to get the information they need, when they need it, and how they need it. For the potential investor or visitor to Jamaica, the ability to find information easily can make the difference between a decision to invest in Jamaica or somewhere else. To start, we found those everyday services in highest demand, the ones Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora frequently need. We took the services non-residents and investors frequently need, and we've started by creating a gateway to those services online. Gov.jm will allow those seeking to do business with government to find what they need faster. Whether you want to know how to apply for a passport, pay taxes online, register a business, or find out your health benefits under the Health Fund program. Information is grouped so that the user knows where to go right away, whether he's a resident, non-resident, or an investor. And this is the kind of information, the kind of service that will gain Jamaica international rankings for e-government. We're still at the early stages. The gateway currently now indexes some of the services available online and provides clear navigation to them. But gov.jm will never stop evolving. It is the customer feedback about information they need that will guide the evolution of gov.jm. Over time, we'll work to bring more and more services online and create a standard online schema for all government.
Oh, good morning.
So where you off to now?
I am off to my office. Gonna bomb busy people fast. Then I went him off office.
With free Wi-Fi in Junction, Mandeville, Olympic Way, Halfway Tree, Devon House, and coming soon to Emancipation Park, the Universal Service Fund is empowering Jamaicans through technology.
The Wi-Fi will government provide here fast like lightning. Oh, help me to get through my work quick.
The Universal Service Fund, bridging the information gap. Internet access for everyone.
Around the world, information and communication technologies, or ICTs, are empowering millions of people and helping to secure a brighter future for all. ITU's Telecommunication Development Sector, or ITUD, is working with global and regional partners to fundamentally improve people's lives through ICTs. This vital work is essential to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Here is a glimpse of some life-changing projects around the world. Schools are like trees with many branches. The Connector School Connector Community project in Comoros has improved internet access to students as well as their communities. Teachers are trained in ICTs and in turn teach others how to use computers and the internet, spreading their knowledge far and wide.
En masse connectés dans le monde. Connecter, c'est déterminer le monde, c'est améliorer les connaissances et créer déjà des emplois.
Walk on world, heading to the ATM, come me just get paid. I'ma need some fresh clothes and a new shoes and everything after that I got spicy.
Bro, see me if you tell me say you gotta show all your followers the debit card information just like that? Never display personal information such as credit card numbers, debit card pins, passports, and your home address online or send it to anyone on social media.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Have mercy. It's weird, do you know? You make me catch a virus. Even if your friend send you the link, if it looks suspicious, no click it, so.
Beware of suspicious links. Hackers can steal your personal information or login credentials with the use of embedded links.
Please to take me to the doctor.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Searching online is what most of us do every day. Information is the world's new currency, and the provision of quality information is what is setting businesses, governments, and even countries apart. And when we search, we're looking for information that is accurate, easy to understand, and relevant. And we expect to get there in 3 clicks. The Jamaican public sector is delivering numerous services every day to clients locally and abroad. Clients who cannot afford to waste neither time nor money searching through hard-to-find information. Introducing gov.jm, the gateway that will become the single online space for accessing information on government services in a way that is simple and seamless. Through the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTM, gov.jm is placing the needs of our clients at the center. By placing vast government information in one place, we are making it easier, faster, and simpler for our clients and potential clients to get the information they need, when they need it, and how they need it. For the potential investor or visitor to Jamaica, the ability to find information easily can make the difference between a decision to invest in Jamaica or somewhere else. To start, we found those everyday services in highest demand, the ones Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora frequently need. We took the services non-residents and investors frequently need, and we've started by creating a gateway to those services online. Gov.jm will allow those seeking to do business with government to find what they need faster. Whether you want to know how to apply for a passport, pay taxes online, register a business, or find out your health benefits under the Health Fund program. Information is grouped so that the user knows where to go right away, whether he's a resident, non-resident, or an investor. And this is the kind of information, the kind of service that will gain Jamaica international rankings for e-government. We're still at the early stages. The gateway currently now indexes some of the services available online and provides clear navigation to them. But gov.jm will never stop evolving. It is the customer feedback about information they need that will guide the evolution of gov.jm. Over time, we'll work to bring more and more services online and create a standard online schema for all government.
Oh, good morning.
So where you off to now?
I am off to my office. Gonna bomb busy people fast. You know when things seem off Coffee.
With free Wi-Fi in Junction, Mandeville, Olympic Way, Halfway Tree, Devon House, and coming soon to Emancipation Park, the Universal Service Fund is empowering Jamaicans through technology.
The Wi-Fi will government provide here, fast like lightning. Oh, help me to get through my work quick.
The Universal Service Fund, bridging the information gap. Internet access for everyone.
Around the world, information and communication technologies, or ICTs, are empowering millions of people and helping to secure a brighter future for all. ITU's Telecommunication Development Sector, or ITUD, is working with global and regional partners to fundamentally improve people's lives through ICTs. This vital work is essential to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Here is a glimpse of some life-changing projects around the world. Schools are like trees with many branches. The Connector School Connector Community project in Comoros has improved internet access for students as well as their communities. Teachers are trained in ICTs and in turn teach others how to use computers and the internet, spreading their knowledge far and wide.
En masse connecté dans le monde. Connecter, c'est déterminer le monde, c'est améliorer les connaissances et créer des emplois.
Walk on world, heading to the ATM, come me just get paid. And me need some fresh clothes and a new shoes and everything after that I got spicy.
Bro, so you mean to tell me say you gotta show all your followers the debit card information just like that? Never display personal information such as credit card numbers, debit card pins, passports, and your home address online, or send it to anyone on social media.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Have mercy. It's weird, you know. You make me catch a virus. Even if I your friend send you the link, if it looks suspicious, no click it, so.
Beware of suspicious links. Hackers can steal your personal information or login credentials with the use of embedded links.
Please to take me to the doctor.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Searching online. It's what most of us do every day. Information is the world's new currency, and the provision of quality information is what is setting businesses, governments, and even countries apart. And when we search, we're looking for information that is accurate, easy to understand, and relevant. And we expect to get there in 3 clicks. The Jamaican public sector is delivering numerous services every day to clients locally and abroad. Clients who cannot afford to waste neither time nor money searching through hard-to-find information. Introducing gov.jm, the gateway that will become the single online space for accessing information on government services in a way that is simple and seamless. Through the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTM, gov.jm is placing the needs of our clients at the center. By placing vast government information in one place, we are making it easier, faster, and simpler for our clients and potential clients to get the information they need, when they need it, and how they need it. For the potential investor or visitor to Jamaica, the ability to find information easily can make the difference between a decision to invest in Jamaica or somewhere else. To start, we found those everyday services in highest demand, the ones Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora frequently need. We took the services non-residents and investors frequently need, and we've started by creating a gateway to those services online. Gov.jm will allow those seeking to do business with government to find what they need faster. Whether you want to know how to apply for a passport, pay taxes online, register a business, or find out your health benefits under the Health Fund program. Information is grouped so that the user knows where to go right away, whether he's a resident, non-resident, or an investor. And this is the kind of information, the kind of service that will gain Jamaica international rankings for e-government. We're still at the early stages. The Gateway currently now indexes some of the services available online and provides clear navigation to them. But Gov.jm will never stop evolving. It is the customer feedback about information they need that will guide the evolution of Gov.jm. Over time, we'll work to bring more and more services online and create a standard online schema for all government.
Oh, good morning.
So where you off to now?
I am off to my office. Gonna bomb busy people fast. Then I went him off office.
With free Wi-Fi in Junction, Mandeville, Olympic Way, Halfway Tree, Devon House, and coming soon to Emancipation Park, the Universal Service Fund is empowering Jamaicans through technology.
The Wi-Fi will government provide here fast like lightning. Oh, help me to get through my work quick.
The Universal Service Fund, bridging the information gap. Internet access for everyone.
Around the world, information and communication technologies, or ICTs, are empowering millions of people and helping to secure a brighter future for all. ITU's Telecommunication Development Sector, or ITUD, is working with global and regional partners to fundamentally improve people's lives through ICTs. This vital work is essential to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Here is a glimpse of some life-changing projects around the world. Schools are like trees with many branches. The Connect to School, Connect to Community project in Comoros has improved internet access to students as well as their communities. Teachers are trained in ICTs and in turn teach others how to use computers and the internet, spreading their knowledge far and wide.
En masse connecté dans le monde. Connecter, c'est déterminer le monde, c'est améliorer les connaissances et créer des emplois.
Walk on world, heading to the ATM, come me just get paid. I'ma need some fresh clothes and a new shoes and everything after that I got spicy.
Bro, so you mean to tell me say you gotta show all your followers the debit card information just like that? Never display personal information such as credit card numbers, debit card pins, passports, and your home address online, or send it to anyone on social media.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Have mercy. It's weird, do you know? You make me catch a virus. Even if your friend send you the link, if it looks suspicious, no click it, so.
Beware of suspicious links. Hackers can steal your personal information or login credentials with the use of embedded links.
Please to take me to the doctor.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Searching online is what most of us do every day. Information is the world's new currency, and the provision of quality information is what is setting businesses, governments, and even countries apart. And when we search, we're looking for information that is accurate, easy to understand, and relevant. And we expect to get there in 3 clicks. The Jamaican public sector is delivering numerous services every day to clients locally and abroad. Clients who cannot afford to waste neither time nor money searching through hard-to-find information. Introducing gov.jm, the gateway that will become the single online space for accessing information on government services in a way that is simple and seamless. Through the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTM, gov.jm is placing the needs of our clients at the center. By placing vast government information in one place, we are making it easier, faster, and simpler for our clients and potential clients to get the information they need, when they need it, and how they need it. For the potential investor or visitor to Jamaica, the ability to find information easily can make the difference between a decision to invest in Jamaica or somewhere else. To start, we found those everyday services in highest demand, the ones Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora frequently need. We took the services non-residents and investors frequently need, and we've started by creating a gateway to those services online. Gov.jm will allow those seeking to do business with government to find what they need faster. Whether you want to know how to apply for a passport, pay taxes online, register a business, or find out your health benefits under the Health Fund program. Information is grouped so that the user knows where to go right away, whether he's a resident, non-resident, or an investor. And this is the kind of information, the kind of service that will gain Jamaica international rankings for e-government. We're still at the early stages. The gateway currently now indexes some of the services available online and provides clear navigation to them. But gov.jm will never stop evolving. It is the customer feedback about information they need that will guide the evolution of gov.jm. Over time, we'll work to bring more and more services online and create a standard online schema for all government.
Oh, good morning.
So where you off to now?
I am off to my office. From a bomb busy people fast. Then I went sim off office.
With free Wi-Fi in Junction, Mandeville, Olympic Way, Halfway Tree, Devon House, and coming soon to Emancipation Park, the Universal Service Fund is empowering Jamaicans through technology.
The Wi-Fi where government provides here pass like lightning. Oh, help me to get through my work quick.
The Universal Service Fund, bridging the information gap. Internet access for everyone.
Around the world, information and communication technologies, or ICTs, are empowering millions of people and helping to secure a brighter future for all. ITU's Telecommunication Development Sector, or ITUD, is working with global and regional partners to fundamentally improve people's lives through ICTs. This vital work is essential to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Here is a glimpse of some life-changing projects around the world. Schools are like trees with many branches. The Connector School Connector Community project in Comoros has improved internet access for students as well as their communities. Teachers are trained in ICTs and in turn teach others how to use computers and the internet, spreading their knowledge far and wide.
En masse connecté dans le monde. Connecter, c'est déterminer le monde, c'est améliorer les connaissances et créer des emplois.
Walk on world, heading to the ATM, come me just get paid. I'ma need some fresh clothes and a new shoes and everything after that I got spicy. Well,
So you mean to tell me say you're going to show all your followers the debit card information just like that? Never display personal information such as credit card numbers, debit card pins, passports, and your home address online, or send it to anyone on social media.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Have mercy. It's weird, do you know? You make me catch a virus. Even if your friend send you the link, if it looks suspicious, no click it, so.
Beware of suspicious links. Hackers can steal your personal information or login credentials with the use of embedded links.
Please to take me to the doctor.
Be cyber safe. Think before you click.
Searching online. It's what most of us do every day. Information is the world's new currency, and the provision of quality information is what is setting businesses, governments, and even countries apart. And when we search, we're looking for information that is accurate, easy to understand, and relevant. And we expect to get there in 3 clicks. The Jamaican public sector is delivering numerous services every day to clients locally and abroad. Clients who cannot afford to waste neither time nor money searching through hard-to-find information. Introducing gov.jm, the gateway that will become the single online space for accessing information on government services in a way that is simple and seamless. Through the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTM, gov.jm is placing the needs of our clients at the center. By placing vast government information in one place, we are making it easier, faster, and simpler for our clients and potential clients to get the information they need, when they need it, and how they need it. For the potential investor or visitor to Jamaica, the ability to find information easily can make the difference between a decision to invest in Jamaica or somewhere else. To start, we found those everyday services in highest demand, the ones Jamaicans locally and in the diaspora frequently need. We've started by creating a gateway to those.
Francesca. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming back from lunch in a timely manner. We are about to start in 2 minutes.
Really kind. Okay. I heard a lot of topics which comes out in the research as well. So it's easy to see the same thing. Yeah. Sort of coming. Yeah, the numbers are showing because you have been part of the ICT research or no? Or you're just presenting? No, you have run it. Okay. Okay, you were running the research.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Wonderful. Welcome back to session number 14 of 15 at our Accessible Americas 5 conference. I see that I need to teach us a Jamaican thing of nyam and scram. That we eat and come back very quickly. But I'd like to thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to the presentations that we're going to have this afternoon. We'll be hearing from 3 venerable guests who will be focusing on the ITU's report on the region's advancement on accessible ICTs, looking in particular at the G3ict Digital Accessibility Rights Evaluation Index. The 3 presenters are as follows: Ms. Francesca Cesar Bianchi, Mr. Louis Mauch, I hope I got that right, Louis, Mauch, and Miss Anna Veneroso. Each speaker will introduce him or herself. I'll change it up this time, and they will do their presentations in this order. Ms. Francesca Bianchi, then Mr. Louis Mauch, and then Ms. Anna Veneroso. Thank you so much. Could I invite Francesca to join me here? Could we welcome her, please?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a nice lunch and you're ready to crunch some numbers. So my name is Francesca Cesar Bianchi. I'm Vice President for Institutional Relations at G3ict. And as a way of background, G3ict was formed about 12 years ago at the initiative of UN DESA, which is the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. And we have been chartered to promote ICT accessibility as mandated by the convention, Article 9. And our focus has not changed in 12 years. We're still doing it. It's all what we are about. We work with a multi-stakeholder approach, so with persons with disabilities, with the industry, with public sector, international organizations, and experts in accessibility. Over the years, we had a relationship, an ongoing relationship with the ITU, and this has grew since 2007. We published the e-accessibility policy toolkit for policymakers and its print versions. We have also published with the ITU a number of technical reports, as well as the model policy reports that you have seen in these days mentioned from time to time. However, as we, thank you, I'm speaking to as advocates going around the world to promote the ICT accessibility, we realized that we didn't have enough data or statistics to benchmark implementation. And so we started about in 2010 to implement what was called at the time CRPD Progress Report, which we published for about 4 editions of the CRPD Progress Report. until we realized it was a bit of too many data points, a bit complicated to read and to use. So we decided, after the publication of the model policy on ICT with the ITU, to work on a simplified approach and to launch an index instead. So the index here, the purpose of the index. The index, first of all, it's may I have the English version on this side, or? Oh, that's fine, I can use my computer. No, don't worry, yeah, I'm fine with the, sorry. Thank you very much. Yes, it's perfect. So the DARE Index is the Digital Accessibility Rights Evaluation Index, and it's a tool to provide in-country advocates to benchmark and track progress made by their countries in implementing digital accessibility policies and programs. We use as a framework the typical framework from human rights monitoring, which is measuring country commitments, country capacity to implement, and country outcomes. And our experts are persons with disability, advocates in government as well, from time to time. We rely on Disabled Peoples International as our main partner. And we have worked with the national assemblies of Disabled Peoples International around the world. When the chapters are not available in country, we rely on other organizations, like RIADIS, for example, in Latin America we have been working with, or sometimes also with organizations that are connected with governments, although we tend honestly to use less that kind of source because government, we think that don't have in a way the user's experience, so we prefer to have the index really done by the respondents of the index as persons with disabilities and users as well. So the global outreach in the past year has been 121 countries surveyed, 89% of the world population. So the selection of variables are based, next slide please, are based on the model policy, the ITU G3ict Model Accessibility Policy Report, for what concerns legal and policy foundation. So we are looking at commitments and capacity to implement, which are the processes, the must to have, so legislation pieces and the processes on how to implement commitments. Instead, for outcomes, we measure that based on key areas that we have identified. In 2016, we had the honor to host a couple of sessions in accessibility at the United Nations with the International Disability Alliance and DPI. And in that occasion, we collectively identify the 10 key areas of technology that we need to monitor to make sure that implementation is done in those areas to guarantee persons with disabilities access to society. The scoring is very simple. We have 20 variables, which are 5 for commitments, 5 for capacity to implement, and 10 for country outcomes. And we assign 5 points each. So each country is basically has a score out of 100 points. We have a detailed country profile on our website in a dashboard. So we have a country dashboard, a page where you can go and there are all the flags and you can pick the country. And we allow, in this way, countries to compare their progress with benchmark and peer results as well in essential areas, based also on a level of economic development and region. So the outcomes have, while the commitments and the capacity to implement are based on yes and no answers, so whether the country has ratified the convention, yes, so the country will get 5 points. The outcomes instead are guided scores. So we give a 0 to 5, for example. If a country has a level of implementation of 2, it means that policy or programs basically are in a pilot applications or are limited scope, or if they get a policy level 3, for example, the deployment program is proceeding but still in a limited impact in terms of target audience. So this is the country dashboard that you will find on our website at G3ict.org. And here are 120 countries. I need to tell you that 10 countries are still under process. That is in progress. So right now it's 111, but you will find 121 in the published dashboard. So I would like, since we are in Jamaica, to give you a little example on how this works. So this is Jamaica profile, country profile. So on the left side, you have the DARE Index score. Jamaica scores 61 out of 100 points. Global ranking is very good. It's actually 19, the 19th country in the global ranking. And then we have regional ranking, 2, peer economic development group rankings 5, implementation ranking 19. So, on the right side, you have the country profile, which includes key country facts, and then commitment, capacity to implement, outcomes, and then the DARE Index score summary, plus some other resources like publications or reports, news and events. We are enriching the pages because we have launched this last week and our website also last week. So the weeks will come by and we will have more and more. But all the scores of the countries are there. But in terms of resources, we are looking at that. So they give me 5 minutes. I hope to condense everything. So I may skip. Well, this is the capacity to implement page. I invite you to visit that. The actual implementation and outcomes for Jamaica. So you will see all the various categories, the variables that I mentioned earlier, based on the call for action. We did have, we looked in Latin America at 23 participating countries, which covers 82% of Latin American Caribbean population. And data is in progress for now for Belize, Chile, and Costa Rica. But we have, I can list for those who maybe cannot see the slides, we have Argentina, Barbados, Belize, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Montserrat, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, St. Lucia, and Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. So I wish to go to a bar chart, which is a global results by region, and you will see here Latin America is actually placed quite well in 8 regions. It's on the 4th, comes at 4th, after Northern America and Europe, and Middle East and North Africa. This is because Middle East and North Africa, there are a couple of countries which are very dedicated, rich countries have implemented accessible programs and policies. But on the global results, Latin America by region is in 4th place. Global results by level of economic development. You see here is another bar chart where you have commitments are pretty much, the best part comes now. Commitments are pretty much on a good, consistent and capacity to implement as well. Obviously, there are shortcomings in terms of economic development because of the level of economic development. So, in terms of commitments, I would like to let you know which are the areas that we found a bit there are opportunities for implementation is definition of ICT accessibility and universal service. obligations. So you will see that this slide look at commitments and compare global results and Latin American results. And so while you see that CRPD ratification or general law protecting the rights of persons with disabilities scores quite well compared to global results, like for example 95% of Latin American countries have ratified the convention, and the global results is 93%. We still are a bit behind in terms of definition of ICT accessibility at the global level, not only in Latin America, because in reality Latin America is a bit ahead. It's 50% of Latin American countries have a definition for ICT accessibility. But global results, we are 49. But that, without a definition, you cannot do much. So this is really a very important aspect in terms, and I think like ITU could work more and to make sure that countries have a definition of ICT accessibility. Here are some examples that I will give you. You can peruse on your own. It's more qualitative analysis so what countries respondents give us in terms of links and material that we have. Capacity to implement. So this is the material I was taking. Sorry, okay. Capacity to implement. Again, here is very interesting, this score, because we see that in terms of Latin American and Caribbean region compared to global results, it's still lagging behind. 15% of countries has a process in place to involve policymaking in persons with disability in policymaking and monitoring on ICT accessibility versus a global result of 23%, which is also low. However, this is an area that really needs improvement, very much improvement. I think here I skip because the time is, they told me I'm almost done with my time. So Latin American and Caribbean capacity to implement, you will see some qualitative data that you can see some countries, how advocates in country response. Outcomes, I want to just mention that. These are areas that requires much attention in terms of policy implementation. This is all the percentage of, these are all in process of implementation, but you will see that, for example, in Latin American and Caribbean results, public procurement is 15% only of countries have a policy in process of implementation. And global results is 31%. So it's a bit lagging behind, as well mobile, as well inclusive ICT in education and web. So these are the areas. However, TV and e-books, although I heard some discussion on e-books, TV and e-books are pretty much ahead and on par with global results. So TV is 45% and global results are 48%, and e-books 45% and global results actually 40%. So in e-books is a bit higher. This is because many countries have ratified the convention. Just want to close. Some outcomes, web accessibility, which are the champions in the web accessibility with at least a partial level of implementation. So with 3 out of 5 points are Brazil and Peru. Accessible TV, Brazil, Colombia, and Nicaragua. These are the champions with at least partial level of implementation in ICT, in accessible TV. Accessible mobile telephony, 3 points out of 5, Brazil again. And inclusive ICT in education, champions with at least partial level of implementation, according to our advocates, is 3 out of 5 points Brazil, and 3 out of 5 points is Jamaica. So, congratulations. So this is, I just want to let you know, this is a grassroots, crowdsourced data We have a feedback mechanism. We like to have feedback also from you. There is an email address. We want to make sure that we validate the process allows for detection and verification also of anomalies. This is an evaluation by advocates for advocates. And, but it helps, we think, uncover progress made and success stories from countries under the radar. I think it allows for comprehensive analysis linking variables, so success stories between and commitments and capacity to implement. So with that, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Francesca, for your presentation. We have, again, one ITU presentation that will be shared between myself and my colleague, Luis. So yesterday, you may recall that during my presentation, I have mentioned that one of the outcomes of the Accessible Americas is the Regional ICT Accessibility Assessment Report for the Americas region, which is being published today, probably. I would like to invite you to visit the Accessible Americas website, and you're going to find there both English and Spanish versions of this report. Can you please put the presentation, sir? It was, in fact, a consultation process. The result of this report is based on the contribution of the ITU member states within Latin America and the Caribbean. And we start in June sending to all of them the questionnaire in both languages, and we have started tracking and making the corresponding follow-up with countries to respond that questionnaire, which result in this report. The main objective of this report, this assessment report, is to offer to the countries a regional summary of the public policy commitments that the countries are implemented in terms of ICT accessibility, and at the same time identify the emerging trends and the most important of higher added value examples of commitments that lead to greater access to ICTs. So as I said, we started the process we have prepared a questionnaire in June. It was launched in July. The deadline for the delivery of that consultation was in October. We sent electronic message to all the 35 member states, and we have received the answer of 14 countries of the Americas region. And this number represents an increase if you compare to the last year, and it represents a growth of 27% regarding 2017. These are the countries that kindly provided us the contribution, 14 countries. And the main idea was for them to respond to questions. I will not read all of them, but as much as appreciated, the answers provided to issues related to their major achievements and developments in the field of ICT accessibility and digital inclusion, the main challenge faced by that countries, their perspectives, which actions they are implemented to increase the quality and offer of accessible ICTs, for example, products and services, which actions are being taken to strengthen awareness among key national stakeholders. What are their action plans or goals to contribute to accessible ICTs in the region or in the country? Which are the regulation, for example, for the use of Universal Service Fund, and if there is any to accelerate ICT accessibility. Those are some of the questions addressed within this questionnaire, in total of 10 questions. So what we did in that sense, we made a great effort to follow up with them for you to know, our counterpart from the national perspective are the ITU administrations, which are based on focal points that are based on normally in the ministries or the regulatory agencies. And we have focal points in that governmental entities to follow up the issues related to ITU. So in that sense, we made a great follow-up with them in order to allow them also to address those questions to services or policymakers or person responsible for decisions or work related to digital inclusion policy and strategies within the countries. And in that sense, and because of the response, it could allow us to issue some recommendations as a result of this report that I invite you to visit the Accessible Americas website and see what are the outcomes received from the countries. So we're really thankful for the contributions received so far. And I give the floor to the ITU consultant on ICT accessibility, Luis Mauch, so he will have the chance to show you some of these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Good afternoon, everybody. I prefer to speak here, yeah. So we will try to show you some information about these reports, some contributions that we could realize that some countries, they could have like different phases, not only phases, but also informations regarding about the legislation. So some countries, they have like a more universal legislation and regulatory, talking about the access is more like in their own universal regulation, not a specific one like ICTs. But some countries, they still have this more specific legislation and talk about accessibility ICTs and access for the disability, and also of their specific law of the inclusion at the whole country. We always also realize that a lot of countries, they are still working, and this is a process for sure in awareness and in capacity building. So it's really important to create the whole society, understand what is your role in these things with the different stakeholders. So also we could realize that service and infrastructure has been investing in some countries. Not only the service provided by the government, but also from the operators, and also the needs of some more infrastructure and even more service. But some countries, they already have some specific service for the disability community. Also some networking building and mainstreams, it's really important with the different stakeholders in this process. Some of the recommendations, it's not different what we are talking here in this 3 days, and it is really important. But some of them involve different actors in the development of the digital inclusion and policy strategies. And especially the disability community, those who really will be impacted with our policies and development. Also encourage some collaborative environment among the parties of interest and responsible. This is part of what we are doing here right now, and trying to put everybody together to really create this collaborative environment. Also comprehend the needs of persons with disability. Probably all countries, they say that it's really hard to understand who are this community and what are their needs. And also try to systematize some information about this population. This is a problem not only for one country, but for all countries, is to understand how we can share information. So that's why it's really important, this kind of studies that G3ict is doing with the DARE Index, and also this ITU study. Because when we ask for the countries for information, it's really important to be part of it. Even if you're going to send just one question, just one response, this is some data and some information that we can share with each other. Also the creation of some recommendations of the regional and specific research to compare this specific data, and could be like complementing the DARE Index. And search and develop regional common solutions. In the end, when we understand the specific needs of the disability community, we can have like more common solutions. And we could see here how much we can share during these 3 days. We're talking about, because in the end, inclusion, it's something really about cultural But accessibility sometimes is just about the standards and technology and also some initiative that we can share. And this way, it's really important to intensify also the actions with the civil society, because in the end, that's where we can find the no-profitable organizations and also the community with disability and the whole society. And monitoring policies align with international frameworks, mainly with the CRPD. So this is probably, it's one of the really important things that we must do in the next steps, because right now, before 5 years, here, everybody putting together, we need to understand where we are. So this kind of information and research give us an idea where are the countries, but right now we need to starting to monitor it. It's going to be much easier to share our experience and also to create like benchmarking with countries that are in different situations of this process. Accessibility and inclusion, it's always a process, and we are always going to have some different goals and different situations from each country, but we can help each other to get there. And also mapping and disseminate good practices like the other report that ITU is producing, and some specific other recommendations like zero projects and that stuff. Also, we are thinking create a repository of good practices and innovative action, more systematized, where everybody can find it, so they can share about some experience, and create some regional agreements with companies and telecommunication providers. In the end, we have the same operators in the whole America, but not same, but most of them are in a lot of countries. So why one country could have like a different service from another? So this is really important if we put out together and try to take like some different arrangements and agreements with the big companies. And also search for resources and financing resources. One possibility could be use more effectively the universal telecommunication funds for accessibility and ICTs. That could be something really important. But not only funds from the public sector or the funds, universal funds, but also trying to create more proximity with the private sector as well. Some companies, they could invest more money in our actions to create awareness and to create capacity building. And it's really important to be close with them also. And incorporate the public and private procurement process, like they show us, we are not doing this yet, like what we should do in America region. And this is one of the most important things, because the government have the whole power in their purchase, but they also with this can create like more demands for solution for the disability and service community. And in this way we could also create this economic empowerment of this population, because they could reach more service, they could spend their money in there. But sometimes we need also to incorporate in different ways to financing, because it's not only the economic power of the disability community that will purchase everything that they need and the system need. And the most important thing that we talk here a lot about, it was nothing about us without us. So we need to work really close with the disabilities community and people with disabilities, the associations, and main principle with the persons that's going to be really impacted about that. Year by year, we can see here in this event more people coming, the deaf community, the blinds, and everybody. And I think that we need to also do different things. For example, one thing that I'm used to do is to describe myself. I don't know if the blind, they could see, they could know what's happening here. We have this podium, it's crystal. I am using my suit, my blue suit. I'm almost bald, and I am short guy, and I am a white guy too. And sometimes it's really important we talk without the microphone, so they can see, they can realize where we are, yeah, during this room. And for me, the most important thing sometimes is just small things that we can do. Sometimes I don't have the power and they have the whole things I need in this road to reach that, but I can do a specific thing and a small thing. And in the end, another thing that I really believe that it's really important, we must be united. We are in Jamaica, and I have to say a little words from Bob Marley, that is, one love, one heart, let's get it together, and we all feel right. So we need to put everybody at the same room and put it together, you know. In the end, we're going to be stronger, and we could take this advantage of the region to in the end, impact the life of the disability community in our regions. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to thank you also the ITU and Anna. And if you have any questions, we are running out of time, you can send these questions to Anna or for me. And also it's really important to us right now, some suggestions about what this report should be, what are the real information that we need to share with the countries. Because in the end, what we are trying to do is to create more information that everybody can use. So this must really be used, otherwise there's no needs to put in more paper and creating more presentation, yeah? And we also invite you to read all the comments and all the reports at the America Accessible 5 website. So thank you very much for your attention, and let's do it. I think we have all resources we need. We had a lot of information. We have this will, so now it's time to change things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anna Veneroso, Ms. Francesca Bianchi, and Mr. Louis Mauch. Thank you so much for your presentation. I know we're out of time, but I would open the floor. To just one or maximum 2 questions. If you have a burning question about something that you heard, would you like to ask it now? Burning question? Okay, no. All right, thank you very much. Panel, thank you. And as we come to the end of the day and to another very important session, I would like to invite Ms. Claudia Gordon to join me at the podium. Yes. Ms. Claudia Gordon is our keynote speaker for this, our closing session for the technical portion of our workshop. Of our conference, my apologies. Claudia L. Gordon is the Director of Government and Compliance with Sprint Accessibility, a business unit within the Sprint Corporation that offers communication products and services to reduce or eliminate communication barriers for customers with disabilities. Claudia was a member of the Obama administration from December 2009 to January 2017. Initially serving as Special Assistant to the Director of the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, I'm going to use the acronym hereafter, OFCCP, and then as the OFCCP's Chief of Staff. From July 2013 to March 2014, Claudia was assigned to the White House Office of Public Engagement, where she served as the liaison to the disability community and advised on disability policies. Prior to joining the Department of Labor, she was a senior policy advisor with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. She is a former staff attorney with the National Association of the Deaf Law and Advocacy Center and has also worked as a consultant attorney with the National Council on Disability. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you now to give a warm Jamaican welcome to our closing speaker, Ms. Claudia Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Love you all. Great. Let me get all set up here. Super. It is so good to be home. Nothing makes me feel happier than coming home to Jamaica. I am a proud daughter of Jamaica. Obviously, anyone who knows me knows I'm very proud of my roots here. I'd like to thank the ITU and the team for inviting me and giving me the honor of speaking here this afternoon as your closing keynote speaker. I don't know if I should call it an honor or perhaps I should better label it a pressure. I'm the last person speaking after these 2 days of amazing presenters. Also, I know I am one of the very last things between you and rum punch, jerk chicken, jerk pork, and the beautiful beach that awaits, and all the other amazing things that this property has to offer us. Some of you may be getting ready to fly home, so it's a lot of pressure to be last. I'd like to give my kudos to the Jamaican Planning Committee for this amazing conference that we've had. The accessibility of having interpreters and captioning, thank you all very much. So, and if you could join me, don't clap like you all usually clap. Our form of clapping is this. We raise our hands in the air. It's a visual type of clap as opposed to auditory. So I think it's been a great planning team for the conference. So, as you heard during that introduction, and thank you for that kind introduction, you heard a little bit about my background. I am the Director of Government Compliance with Sprint Accessibility. I am an attorney by training. And I know that you all have learned a lot over these past couple of days. We've had 2.5 days of sessions. So I wanted to make sure that my presentation was a bit more personal this afternoon. I feel I could stand up here and talk about what we do at Sprint with our work in the accessibility field. But I'm a person with a disability. I'm a consumer. I use these informational services, this communication technology. I'm a consumer of what we've been talking about, and I'm also a daughter of Jamaica. So because of that, I feel like I needed to share a little bit with you today about my. Hopefully, this will help kind of bring a face to what we've been talking about, and you'll understand how everything we've learned over the 2.5 days really applies. I think putting a face on the community that we've been talking about during the conference will be very helpful. This is a community that often isn't invited to the stage. This is a community that often is not at the table. This is a community that's not consulted on issues or concerns about their very own needs. So, let me tell you just a bit about my journey and how I lost my ability to hear. I became deaf at the tender age of 8, and it was obviously very impactful for me. That occurred while I lived here in Jamaica. I knew what it meant to be deaf, but I didn't know what it was like to be deaf. I only knew the world of sound. I'm old enough to remember, way back when, if you are also from Jamaica, you'll know what I'm talking about. Information communication technology at that time meant the radio, right? We all had radio. So I'm old enough to remember hearing the radio, listening to Bob Marley, and his soulful voice singing over the radio. And I remember every week on the radio, we would look forward to the radio broadcast, our favorite broadcast of Miss Louise Bennett. Remember Ring Ding, her popular storytelling show? That was her weekly show, Ring Ding. I don't know if any of you remember that. I certainly remember listening to the radio. That was ICT back in the day. We did not own a television, but eventually one of our family members did get a TV. When someone got a TV in those days, they were considered wealthy. So my mom started a weekly tradition. Every Sunday, we had our ritual. We would do the work around the house, eat our dinner, and then we would get together and walk over to my cousin's house who had a television show. We would watch Little House on the Prairie, which was very popular back then. It was a black and white, grainy television, but I remember watching it, and I look forward to that every Sunday. The show would finish, it would be dark, and armed with our flashlights, we would make the trek back down to our house. So, home. This is my hometown. This is St. Mary Cascade. This is home. Do we have anybody here from St. Mary? Anyone else here? People abroad might not know Cascade. If you're not from Jamaica, you won't know of it. It's a small rural town. And I tend to tell people that it's near the city because people don't know my actual city of Cascade. So this is my childhood home. Way up on a hill. Very modest beginning. So that's a snapshot of what my world was like. I was a hearing child, and then all of a sudden, I was deaf. Overnight, I lost my hearing. And my world completely changed at that time. My family consulted with the school district, and they decided to take me out of school. Keep me home is what they were advised. So I was isolated. My time was spent just doing work around the house. Last year, I gave a TEDx talk. And in that talk, which you can find online if you looked, I talked about my deafness being the beginning of life where I was present, but society treated me as if I was invisible. Thanks to my hardworking mother, I was able to immigrate to New York. At the age of 11, I moved, and again, I became deaf when I was 8, and I didn't move to New York until I was 11. So I went into the school for the deaf when I got to New York. I finally was in a deaf school, and I was able to meet people who were just like me. That was the first time I had any deaf peers. And that's the first time I realized I wasn't alone. I was not the only deaf person in the world. That was my first time of beginning to realize, yes, I'm deaf, but the stigma of people looking down on me, that didn't define me. It didn't define my capabilities, and neither did it define my worth. My deafness, your deafness, is just another way to experience the world. So I really started to internalize the oppression. For a while, I believed what people said, but now I'm at a point where I can totally reject that stigma. So from that point, I never looked back. And I challenge you all Don't entertain the notion. You may have heard people talking about work experience and people achieving the impossible. Don't entertain the idea of achieving the impossible. I got my law degree. I worked for President Obama in the White House. But nothing is impossible. People with any disability can do anything. So instead of thinking it as overcoming the impossible, I challenge you to go back home and choose to believe that I am one example of what people with disabilities can do and can achieve if we are given the necessary tools and the necessary accommodations, which include ICT and access to information, in order to maximize our full potential. And that we do that on a level playing field. So I challenge you to think about that and believe that in your heart of hearts. So speaking of leveling the playing field, I am proud to work for a company, Sprint, that has for the last 28 years been doing just that, leveling the playing field. For 28 years, Sprint Accessibility has been providing accessible information, communications, telecommunication solutions for people with a wide variety of disabilities. For people who are deaf, for people who are hard of hearing, for people who are both deaf and blind, and those who have a cognitive or speech disability or a mobility disability. Sprint is the largest U.S. corporation with a global footprint providing services such as this. We are a wireless carrier, a common carrier, and we provide many, many different communication solutions, including telecommunications relay service. That is one of the products that we offer. And I know that you've heard a lot of information over this conference, so I don't want to go into detail and discuss each of the products or services that we offer in the States, but if you're interested in learning more about them, please look online. Everything is on the website. I do just want to give you a quick snapshot, but not go too much into depth about what we offer. And you can see the products here on the slide. We have a wide variety of relay services. We have text-based services, app-based services, and these products allow people who are deaf or hard of hearing to connect with an operator, interpreter, communications assistant, and then facilitate a call with a person who uses a traditional telephone. So a deaf person can talk via a computer, a phone, or a traditional TTY to someone who is not deaf and communicate via the telephone. We are also the only provider to serve individuals who are both deaf and blind. And I haven't heard anyone in this conference really mention that population of deaf-blind individuals. So Sprint is the only provider that offers an accessible form of relay services for that specific population. That's compatible with Braille devices so that they can access communication as well. And that service is called IP Relay. Deaf-blind individuals, for many of them, that is the only form of communication that allows them to use the telephone and have a conversation. We also provide a service called Caption Telephone, and that is ideal for those who can hear, but perhaps have some degree of hearing loss. It allows them to hear what's happening on the phone call, but any words they miss, they can look down and catch via captions that are real time during the conversation. So if a word or two is missed because of their hearing loss, they can always look down and get that via text. We also provide a service called conference captioning, which is something I use because I have many conference calls, staff meetings, webinars, training sessions. So deaf or hard of hearing individuals, again, we level the playing field and let them participate equally with their colleagues and coworkers from their personal device, be it a cell phone or a computer or laptop. So again, these are just examples of what Sprint accessibility does to improve the quality of lives for individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, or have the other disabilities that I mentioned earlier. So we've talked through the products and services. We've had a lot of today talking about privacy issues, funding, etc. So I just thought I wanted to elaborate a little bit. I won't go too far into detail, but about how telecommunications relay services is set up and funded in the United States. A little bit about regulations, policies, and laws for the relay service within the United States. The Federal Communications Commission, which is our arm of the U.S. government, regulates relay service and the industry within the states. It is a service that's mandated by law. You probably have heard of the law, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Title IV of that particular law mandates that the government, state governments, must provide functionally equivalent methods for deaf, hard of hearing, and speech-disabled individuals to engage in telephone conversations. They must be able to use the phone like those who can hear use the telephone. So that law basically was the birth of telecommunications relay service. So all of these products and services are available in all 50 states of the U.S., plus the U.S. territories as well. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that is a requirement. Again, it's legally required to be open at all times. Sprint is the provider. There are 50 U.S. states, and Sprint currently, these are all contracts, so it's a competitive bid for each state. And Sprint has won and provides services to 37 of the 50 states. 37 and counting, I would say. The rest are, we also serve the United States federal government, some private sector companies as well. We also serve Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And as far as cost for users, it's absolutely free. We cannot charge end users or individuals who are deaf, hard of hearing, deafblind, or speech disabled any more money to make a phone call than a non-disabled person would spend. It's illegal for us to charge an additional fee to them. So that brings up the question of how is it paid for? The telecommunications relay service has a fund. Whether at the state or the federal level, there are funds that are paid for often from common carriers off of those telephone bills, and that money is put into a fund and pays for the service. So when we are compensated by the government, obviously, that comes with many rules, regulations, and policies that we have to follow, and that's where my position within the company comes into the picture. I ensure that we comply with all minimum standards: speed of answer, confidentiality, typing speed of our agents, etc. So we are a very heavily regulated industry, and Sprint is one of the top as far as quality of service and ethics. Sprint is a very proud member of the ITU as well, the ITUT. We do have involvement in the international space, and we're involved with the ITU standards for the industry for telecommunications relay service. And we know that in March, those guidelines were passed, and that those are currently being worked on for the performance measurements and standards there. So Sprint is very committed to quality of service. Speaking of quality, for Sprint, this industry is not simply a business that's about the bottom line. It's not. Many of us on the team who work for Sprint are also users or consumers of the services that we provide. We use the services. Therefore, we care about the quality personally. And we care about enhancing the quality of lives for people with disabilities. We need people to be able to call their doctor's offices and communicate. We want them to apply for a car loan or whatever it is that they want to use the telephone for. If they need to call 911, we want to ensure that those calls go through smoothly. If they're just calling family or friends or having a work-related meeting, a webinar, a training session, all of those types of telecommunications are very important, and we want to make sure that those calls go effectively. There are a variety of things that need to be considered, obviously, and those are outlined here. We've heard a lot about privacy concerns during the sessions over the last couple of days, regarding the use of an interpreter for a video phone call or a communications assistant or operator for a text-based relay call. In the United States, we have very strict privacy safeguards that have been put in place through the Federal Communications Commission and their regulations and through our state contracts. The telecommunications industry has privacy regulations as well. So I would encourage you to look into that and just know that there are practices and models out there within the system that your country could replicate. At no point in time should you expect a deaf or hard of hearing consumer or a user of any service to waive their right to privacy. That would not be considered functional equivalency whatsoever. Instead, governments or companies who are providing services need to put those safeguards in place to protect individuals with disabilities. Make sure that they have access to these services in the same manner as non-disabled users. There should be no fear that private information would be leaked or service providers would use their information inappropriately. I understand the concerns that have been raised here, but please, that should not be a barrier to the provision of a much, much needed service. So let me wrap up here. It's clear that there are a wealth of best practices in the room. We heard from Scotiabank from Canada, and they talked about what they're doing. People in Brazil, people in Colombia, talking about 24-hour relay services being provided. Mexico has talked about best practices. Within this room, it's obvious that we share a passion and a commitment. There are a lot of wonderful, dedicated people right here at this conference. Speaking of dedicated people, I do want to also recognize a few people that we have in the room, my deaf, hard of hearing peers that have participated in the conference. They've sat in the front row, watched interpreters. Tashi Widmer is here. She runs deaf schools on the island. She is the executive director of the Caribbean Christian Center of the Deaf. Andre Witter was just last Saturday, won a big award from the Jamaican Prime Minister, a youth award. So they're right here, and these types of people are part of the solution. So with all we have best practices, we have passion, we have dedication. So what will it take for us to actually transform the ITU's vision of accessibility, ICT for all? How do we transfer and make that vision become a reality? How do we get to that end goal and realize the possibility that people with disabilities can have what we're envisioning? Speaking as a person with a disability, let me tell you what I personally believe. First off, I believe that persons with disabilities need to be invited to the table as active participants. They need to be invited to the table in all matters and issues that are related to them. When society includes people with disabilities and invites us to the table, that is actually a recognition of our innate dignity. Communicate with that community. Communicate with us. Empower individuals with disabilities. They add value to that dialogue. They add value, innovation, and solutions. We have much to add. We can add to the economy, to the community, and to life in general. That's why I wanted to share this picture. You can see that I'm here in the picture, but I think this is when I was working at the Obama White House. And one thing that was so inspirational is there were so many leaders of the disability community at the table. And again, we were at the very highest level. At this meeting in the picture, we had pictures representing independent living centers, the National Association of the Deaf, mental health advocates, youth sports advocates, etc. And we all were at the table with President Obama for over 1 hour talking about issues. And I challenge you, go back to your country and do the same. Don't let people with disabilities be passive recipients of service. Invite them to the table and make sure that they are involved from the get-go. I would love to ask, but I won't. How many of you will have meetings when you get home and invite people, a cross-section audience of people with disabilities, to meet with those who are in power, those that are high up in your communities and your countries? Do it. I really encourage that. It's amazing. So much creativity and passion and determination will come out of sessions like that. Those individuals are there in your home countries if you just bring them to the table. Some of them may have answers to things that you've been wondering how to solve. Another thing I believe is that people with disabilities want the same respect and dignity and self-worth that every one of us in the room wants. We don't want to be sitting on the sidelines, left out. We don't want you to take care of it and come tell us about it later. No, that's not what we want. Another thing that I believe, whether it's accessible information and communication technology, or whether it's employment, education, whatever it is, in order to succeed and solve any of the issues regarding people with disabilities, you must collaborate. We must continue to work together, and we must continue to break down any attitudinal barriers that are there. That has to be part of our work. Especially in the Americas and this Caribbean region, there are attitudinal barriers. I mean, looking back, why was I removed from school? I was a top student in my class and was told I couldn't go back. I became deaf, and that didn't change the fact that I was a top student, but just that attitudinal barrier that deaf people cannot learn. Deaf people can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do anything. So that was a cycle. And with accessibility, with communication, technology, information, we have all that, but we do need to get rid of that attitudinal barrier, and that does have to be involved in every conversation and every dialogue that we have about solving this equation. We need to start with the simple belief that people with disabilities can. Not think about what they cannot do, but know that they can. I also believe in collaboration and understand that that is another essential part of making this effort work. We must collaborate. Everyone in society must work together on this, be it the private sector, the public sector, NGOs, and persons with disabilities. Everyone must collaborate to solve these issues. We want to successfully create an inclusive Americas for all. And no single sector can do that alone. An example of that, some of you probably already have come up with a much needed video solution for your countries to offer video relay services. And the deaf community has been waiting for those services for so long. But then you may realize, oh, we have no pipeline, we have no qualified interpreters currently training, being prepared to work for this video relay service. So obviously that's a disconnect. There's an ICT solution, you have the actual product or service, but you don't have the interpreters that you need to allow deaf people to benefit. So the providers are needed to make the technology work. You may have technology that you need, but you must have collaboration. And then in that instance, train interpreters. It's very, very important. You may have a big goal. You understand you want accessible ICT for all, and that is a big goal. But then you see people with disabilities not gainfully employed, still having no jobs. So is that a success then? We must collaborate, government, private sector, businesses, NGOs, to make sure that people with disabilities are provided real economic opportunities. When I worked at the Department of Labor, my boss would preach about federal contractors. My boss would say, work is not just a paycheck. Work is about self-respect. That's what's it about. We want to stand up every day and feel good about ourselves. We want to know we're contributing to society. We're earning an honest living. We're paying taxes. We're putting food on the table. We're sending our children to school. We're buying clothes. We're putting a roof over our heads. People with disabilities want that just as much as you do. We want to work, and it's important that that equality is there. And ICT can help with that. But you can't have one without the other. We must collaborate. We must look at this holistically and take a holistic approach. I have just a few more things that I believe. I believe many issues are facing people with disabilities. Many problems have been studied and studied and studied. They've been pondered and pondered. They've been worried about for what seems like forever. I think these issues are solvable. They really are solvable. We have heard so many best practices at this convention alone. We've seen so many models, so many things we can replicate all throughout the Americas. I believe we must start actual implementation, and we must do so with a sense of urgency. The opportunities are there, and people within that disabled community have been denied services for far too long. I believe we need to put real teeth behind our disability legislation, regulation, and policy. If a country has signed the CRPD and ratified that, does that mean something to that country? There needs to be teeth behind that. It can't just be a piece of paper with a signature on it. There needs to be actual intent, actual consequences, and action. So if there's non-compliance, that needs to be punished. There needs to be funding, there needs to be political will, and that has to start from the top and work its way down. These problems have solutions, but there does have to be funding, and we may have to work creatively to solve funding issues. But I believe that that must start at the top governmental level and work collaboratively and with partners to find resources that are necessary to solve those issues for accessible ICT for people with disabilities. Lastly, this is the last I believe that when we use the word all, I think we need to pause a moment and really take time to think. What will it take to have all not just be a word, but also be a deed. How can we make all actually mean all? All means all. It's not just a word. All is an action and a deed. And we need to think long and hard before we even use the word all. And finally, not what I believe, but here is what I know. I know that all of us coming together is a beginning. Staying together is progress. Working together is success. And I also know that our sustained effort and our collaboration and hard work, we will not only make history in the Americas. What we will do is create many possibilities for people with disabilities. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.
I'm sure you'd agree with me that that was an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
I know we're out of time, but Claudio, I don't know if you'd be minded to take a few questions?
Sure. Sure.
Excellent. So few means 1, 2, maximum 3. So 1 or 2 burning questions for our closing speaker. Okay. I see Antoinette. I recognize Antoinette. Antoinette.
Is there another interpreter? Oh, okay, great. Sure. Yes, we can. We are open to partnering and collaborating with anyone, anywhere, in any country. We are looking for the type, if you're looking for the products and services we provide, yes. We have been providing services we provide to the country of New Zealand. We're in dialogue with other countries as well. So yes, not only in the United States. So it is a possibility, and we definitely can work on arrangements, and it would be a network connectivity issue. But yes, let's talk offline if you're interested.
Hola, mi nombre es Francesca Peña y vengo de República Dominicana. Trabajo directamente con la primera dama.
Por favor.
Sí, adelante. Yes, can you hear me? My name is Francesca Peña. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I speak directly with the First Lady. My question, I would like to know if Sprint has this service. If a non-deaf person, if you call a deaf person using a common device, if everything goes into smart devices, and if a person non-deaf speaks using voice to a deaf person, you know, we know that you can't respond to a voice call. So is there some application, some device which would help, whereby the non-deaf person speaks and the deaf person can receive the text? Or
Well, for the most part, our services work both ways. So the non-deaf person could contact the deaf person, or the deaf person could contact the non-deaf person. It's functionally equivalent. So either party could start or receive the call. And by law, we're required to do that and make those services work both ways. So I hope that I answered your question. For example, at my home, I have a video phone. I get messages just like you would get on your smartphone. I get voicemail. I have a caption phone, and I can get messages on that as well. So yes, to answer your question, we do have that service. But if you're asking about making a call directly between those parties with no relay service, so there's a system that perhaps stores a message for the deaf or hard of hearing person, that I would say no. But I'd be happy to talk with you more offline if you'd like to look into it. Our regular services, though, is interoperable. So either the deaf person or the non-deaf person can start the phone call.
And the last question, Cleveland?
Yes, it's not a question. I think it's not a question. It's just simply to commend you in the humblest of ways. Your entire presentation was extremely inspirational, encouraging, and perhaps one of the best I've heard for a long time. And I think that on behalf of the ITU, it was indeed a privilege to have you speak. And one of the questions you asked earlier is whether or not, based on what you have spoken, if we can take this further and to use the message to encourage participation of persons with disabilities to be at the table for discussions. And I want to give that commitment to you on behalf of the ITU. Thank you for a brilliant, brilliant presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Love you all. Thank you, especially you in the front row.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, on our agenda, we would be moving now to a networking coffee break. However, it gives me pleasure to announce that for our closing ceremony, we'll be having the Deputy Prime Minister joining with us shortly. And in that light, and against that background, I'm going to kindly ask that we consider a very short coffee break to ensure that we can get back on schedule and that we will not keep the Deputy Prime Minister waiting too long. I'm going to also ask the following persons before we leave, I have a few instructions. I'm going to ask the following persons to meet at the Accessible Americas registration desk or office, which is just around the corner. Patricia Rodriguez, Juliana Paduo, Francesca Bianchi, and Monica Duhem. That's Patricia Rodriguez, Juliana Paduo, Francesca Bianchi, and Monica Duhem. Please meet at the Accessible Americas office. One last announcement before you go through the door. If you were the recipient of a certificate from the ITU for the training that took place on Wednesday, you have another wonderful opportunity to have your photo taken. And so all certificate holders are being asked quickly, very, very quickly, to join me here at the podium for a photograph, and please walk with your certificates as well. You know that, of course, once we come to an international function or regional function, we have to take pictures. So quickly, let's organize this quickly. All certificate holders, could you join me at the podium or on the podium with your certificates? Yeah, let's go. The certificates look something like this. We're going to do it as quickly and as orderly as we did the last. So, persons who are, they say shorter, sit at the front. Could we quickly get some chairs at the front, perhaps? Could we quickly get some chairs at the front? That's what I'm Melissa just asked the same thing, you know. No, yeah, of course we can take a picture. Of course we can take a picture. We're almost there. Just inviting all other persons in the room who have certificates. If you answered the questions, did the exam, just check quickly for your certificate outside and let's run back inside, please. Awesome. So you know what that means now? Coffee break is 12 minutes, not 15. 12 minutes.
Yes, yes, lock it off. Lock it off, Governor. All right, sir.
need some fresh clothes and a new shoes, and everything after that I got spicy.
So you mean if you tell me say you're gonna show all your followers your debit card information just like that? Never display personal information such as credit card numbers, debit card pins, passports, and your home address online or send it to anyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I invite you to take your seats? We're about to continue our program. Could I invite you kindly to take your seats, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to invite you kindly to take your seats. We are about to begin. Thank you. Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chan. Could I invite Mr. Bruno Ramos, the Regional Director for the Americas region of the ITU office, to join me on the podium. Mr. Ramos would lead us in the next session, which is the announcement of the host country for the Accessible Americas 6.
I want to invite Anna. Everything's prepared. I want to invite the representative of the next, I will not say the country, the next Accessible Americas to come here and present the country for Accessible Americas 2019.
Please, the video one. Please, the video one.
Tiempos tiene la música, pero aparte de la música, hay otros sitios donde encontrar este número. A ver si adivinas.
Pacific Coast, Galapagos Islands.
Ecuador, con sus 4 mundos. ¿A qué esperas? Porque Ecuador merece la pena.
Este paraíso de los 4 mundos que acaban de observar es mi país.
4 worlds. Ecuador is a small country, but creating diversity by the quality and the warmth of its people, because every day they work to show themselves and to show the very best of our land to the rest of the world. Mr. Cecil McCain, Director of the ICTs of the Mission of Technology in Jamaica, Mr. Bruno Ramos, Regional Director of the ITU for the Americas, representatives of delegations from Latin America and the Caribbean, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to be here as a delegate from the Ministry of Telecommunications and the Information Society of Ecuador, which is the guiding force of ICT in my country. As a guiding force for telecommunications, we carry out and develop policies that seek to improve the economic and socio-cultural conditions of our country through efficient appropriation of the ICTs on the part of the citizens. To this end, therefore, in July last, we presented the white page of the ICTs. That was a public instrument that is based on 5 pillars, rather. That is to ensure that our citizens would appropriate the use of ICTs. And these 5 pillars include infrastructure and connectivity. We try to ensure that people, as well as priority groups such as persons with disabilities, should appropriate the infrastructure that has been deployed throughout the length and breadth of our country. We want to have a government, electronic government, and through this we try to efficiently reach the citizens and provide services. We want to have inclusion and digital skills to ensure that people will completely buy in ICTs and be trained in order to make progress as new entrepreneurs. We tried also to ensure security of information and protection of personal data, information that is presently in the cloud as well as in all the systems. We try to ensure that all of this information should be protected. We want to have a digital economy and emergent technologies. We try to ensure that through appropriation, our country's economy will play a great leap forward, and so that we can lead to a digital transformation. So how has Ecuador progressed as far as accessibility is concerned? In 2014, we adopted the international standard ISO 4500 on web accessibilities, W3C. And with this, 120 websites from public institutions have the accessibility, A-level accessibility standard. And next year, we would like to go on to WA level so that we can have access to information and service for all our citizens. Apart from this, through the InfoCentros project is an emblematic project from the ministry. We have set up 854 centers, and we give services to all citizens through training, access to services and information at all government levels of the country. So I would like to present my city to you. So could we have the audio, please?
Life is not just a ride you jump on. You make it your own. You open trails. I work hard on not letting things become familiar. I love strange territories, the heartbeat of uncertainty, and the constant change of the landscape. I seek the soul of people, not what they do, but who they are. Traveling helps me to keep perspective, remember what's important, the beauty of a flower, of a smile. I was taught not to take things for granted, to treasure every breath I take, to taste every flavor. Each moment triggers my next step. Passion, inspiration, new places, new sensations are all relentless, addictive things I pump into my blood. Each mile walked, each new friend are the things I treasure the most. I can have nothing but that, yet that is so much. I pay tribute to life by enjoying the most simple things. Unfamiliar habitats, strange encounters, facing fears and fearing nothing. I find myself living on a roller coaster and still have the time to stop and contemplate. I seek a unique experience to tell my story, and I know where to start.
So, you've just seen my city, that is the capital of Ecuador, at the very heartbeat and at the center of the world. And we will be the host country for the 2019 Accessible Americas meeting. We are very proud to host this next meeting. Finally, our commitment is to continue to work to have greater levels of knowledge and to ensure greater accessibility, and as a means of consolidating the information and communication society. I'd just like to show you a video of what we have done in my country to have and bring about accessible tourism. Finally, I'd like to thank the organization and all the members of the ITU who have supported me and given me provided me with every possible means of being here with you. So, as I said, I'd like to leave you with a video about how our country has been working to ensure accessible tourism for persons with disability. Thank you so much.
Siente la cultura en nuestra selva. Vive nuestros paisajes y comparte la experiencia. Permite que nuestro mar y nuestras playas te abracen. Siente la emoción y el placer que te ofrece este país abundante, generoso, inclusivo. Este es Ecuador, el país de los 4 mundos. ¿Y tú, qué esperas para descubrirlo? Haz como yo.
Haz como yo.
Haz como yo. Haz como yo.
Haz como yo.
Hazlo y descubre un Ecuador diverso, un Ecuador accesible. El gobierno de todos.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Accessible Americas 6, exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the official closing ceremony. And for these proceedings, I'm going to invite Mr. Bruno Ramos and Ms. Joaquin Murray to join me on the podium. We're just awaiting the arrival of the minister. He's coming from the ministerial room. Immediately following the closing ceremony, I'm going to ask all members, all participants, who have not yet collected their certificates to do so. We do have a few certificates still remaining on the outside. So please don't leave this afternoon without collecting your certificate. Thank you. In addition, someone will be going home one power bank short, don't remember the word, poro, because you have lost your power bank, and we're asking you kindly, if you've lost a power bank, you may collect same at the Accessible Americas registration office, and you'd have to describe that power bank in order for us to hand it over to you. Thank you. That's fine, consider. Oh my God, I just there. The Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, Minister of National Security and Minister in charge of Government Business in the absence of the Prime Minister, who is overseas. Ms. Joaquin Murray, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Science and Technology. Ms. Colette Robert Risden, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Mr. Bruno Ramos, ITU Regional Director for the Office of the Americas Region. Participants representing some 26 countries, partners and sponsors, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Indeed, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the closing ceremony of what was an amazing conference. Don't you agree? Yes. We have shared, we have been provoked, but above all, we have been challenged to make the Americas region more accessible. To give the official opening remarks, I invite Ms. Joaquin Murray, the Acting Permanent Secretary, to the lectern.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm doing the opening closing. All right. So, Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden, ITU Regional Director, Office of the Americas Region, Mr. Bruno Ramos, participants, partners and sponsors, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure to address you at this afternoon's closing ceremony. I am sure that we can all agree that this conference has been fruitful, and we have all been enlightened to the many ways that ICTs have been assisting persons with disabilities to function in today's society. We can also agree that the opportunities and platforms for greater inclusion and integration of the vulnerable and persons with disability using technology are also immense and can only get better as greater. As technology advances are made. The World Bank states that some 1 billion people, or 15% of the world's population, experience some form of disability. 1/5 of the estimated global total, or between 110 million and 190 million people, experience significant disabilities. We've heard statistics over the course of these 3 days, and in addition to those, we've heard that with aging comes some form of disability or impairment, and so even those of us who have no disability now may need assistance in the future. Therefore, the time to strategize and act is now. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm pleased that at this forum, an opportunity was provided for us to actively discuss the steps that are being and can be taken to overcome these hurdles, and that everyone has had an opportunity for their voice to be heard. Events such as these demonstrate that the solution to bridging the digital divide and creating a digitally inclusive society lie in collaboration and partnerships across all sectors and across all borders. With the Internet of Things and the dawning of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, we now have the world at our fingertips, and we can all leverage technology to overcome the hurdles that exist. As policymakers, industry players, members of academia, and citizens, we have been made acutely aware of the needs of vulnerable groups and the need to plan for them, with them at the table. Only then can we truly have an inclusive society in this digital age. As we press towards Vision 2030 and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, let us purpose within ourselves that we will leave no one behind. Let us use technology to create bridges, not barriers. Let us create a society where the most vulnerable in society and persons with disabilities will have equal opportunities and better access to ICTs. Ladies and gentlemen, technology has the power to transform lives, and as noted by IBM in their training manual, for people without disabilities, technology makes things easier. For people with disabilities, technology makes things possible. In closing, I want to thank the ITU for considering Jamaica for the hosting of this year's Accessible Americas. And while I'm not here to bring the vote of thanks, it would be remiss of me if I didn't personally thank the hard-working, dedicated team from my ministry, the Ministry of Science and Technology, the ITU, the Office of Utilities Regulation, the Universal Service Fund, among others, and to commend our sponsors, the Spectrum Management Authority, eLearning Jamaica Company Limited, the Jamaica Tourist Board, among others. Thank you very much. And most importantly, I want to thank the participants who have been with us these 3 long days. I really, truly hope that you'll leave here more empowered, you'll leave here with a greater purpose, and that you would have enjoyed the sun. For those of you who had an opportunity to enjoy the sand, And I hope you'll have an opportunity to enjoy the sea before you depart. But we hope that you would have enjoyed what Jamaica had to offer. Thank you.
Mr. Bruno Ramos will now bring his remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today. I don't know if I can really show to you how proud I am of you for being here these 3 days and sharing the experiences that we heard during these 3 days here and try to do something practical. I don't know, I will try, but I'd like just to start with that. First of all, I'd like just to say thank you for the Jamaican administration and also to the Honorable Dr. Horace Cheng, Minister of National Security is here. Minister. Mrs. Joaquin Murray, that is our sister of the Mr. Sanu. Thank you so much for all support of the Jamaican administration, and also my dear friend Cecil McCain. You are excellent in everything that Jamaica did for this event. From the time of our arrival here, we were all warmly welcomed by the Jamaican team, some of the most professional people who have done more than excellent job in all of the arrangements. Very impressive. Thank you so much. Today, at least 15% of the world population is living with disabilities. Information and communication technologies have the potential for making significant improvements in the lives of people with disabilities. I will read something and will tell something also. Okay, Cleveland, may I? Because my speech is a very protocolar speech. But I'd like to introduce some topics to you to first keep attention on me, because I'm not going to read the emails, but also to show something to you. Claudia said something here very important. And I agree with Cleveland, that was one of the most touchable speech that I've heard. She said that it's very important to plan, it's very important to do things, but we need to implement. We need to do something in a practical way. This event, this 5th event, the series of events, are something practical. I always say platform, because we are not trying to reinvent everything. We're not trying to do something for the first time. No, we are trying to put all people together in order to share the experiences and try, if it's possible, to change 1, 2, or 3 lives. That's it. If we can, for each event, we changed 15 lives so far. The international, I will return to the speech. The International Telecommunications Union, ITU, that I'm very proud to be part, has been organizing the Accessible Americas since 2014. The aim of these events is to raise awareness in regard to the necessary measures to be taken in areas of ICT accessibility that enable persons with disabilities to have equal opportunities and better access to the information and communication technologies, and also to be included in our society. So we not have to think that people with disabilities are different people. They are like us. We have to live together. So this also is the aim, one of the aims of this event, the series of Accessible Americas. So in these three days, we received 200. I also said 2,000 because it's something that, it's an internal joke. Just to explain to you, during our last lunch with Mr. Sanu, I said that we received 2,022 people. And Mr. Thomas said, no, Mr. Thomas knows. Mr. Simon said, 2,000? And I said, yes, in the future. We are going to have 2,000 in the future. We received 222 people from 26 countries, from the Americas and all over the world. On over 3 days, we covered training sessions, Caribbean and Latin America projects and initiatives, ITU's commitment with digital and social inclusion, empowering women and girls through the ICTs, contribution of the private sector, digital inclusion. So I will say some achievements that we did. I've been reliably informed that a part of making new business contacts and friends, most people are more informed on the issues, efforts, technologies, policies, regulation, and best practices using ICTs to help improve the lives of persons with disabilities, including other groups with specific needs, such as women, girls, youth, the elderly, and indigenous people. I put poor people also, promoting the dialogue on the empowerment of all groups of persons with specific needs. The outputs: increased awareness of ICTs and persons with disabilities, build the ICT ecosystem and the importance of ICTs for achievement of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, increased interest by the private sector to provide solutions for persons with disabilities and vulnerable people. We shared successful and outcomes of projects and initiatives that contributed to make America's region a more inclusive society, and also, and this is very important, networking. So we shared our views during these 3 days. What are the next steps? Keep in touch and continue the collaboration with each other. Continue the development of innovative solutions. Continue to develop also new measures to reduce the gap that we have today in the inclusion of societies. Ensure the capacity building programs are in the place through online courses, centers of excellences, and other workshops within the Americas region. Design appropriate policy frameworks and tools for integration of inclusive ICTs. Ensure that persons with disabilities participate in decision-making process. I will again try to get some thoughts from Claudia. She said that we need to include persons with disabilities in the meetings that we have during our working days. So here I'm, asking you just to include also in the decision-making process, because we have a lot to learn from them. From that, the decision-making process should be a part of an inclusive society, and not only from small part of people that is deciding the future of everybody. This 3 days event was an overwhelming success. We achieved tangible results. This would not have been possible without the government of Jamaica. So I must particularly recognize Mrs. Joaquin Murray, Acting Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Science and Technology of Jamaica, and her team. I must say also, I'd like just to a big thank to Evona Channer and Caroli Guntley. Without them, it will not be possible. Thank you so much. The Jamaica Event Coordination Team, led by my dear friend Cecil. Thank you so much, Cecil. The ITU staff, led by Mrs. Ana Veneroso, Program Administration in the Americas Regional Office. She worked very hard from almost 1 year to prepare this event for you. Thank you, Ana. And also, I'd like to say to the staff of the ITU that served you during these days, Mr. Cleveland Thomas, Mr. Simão Campos, Mrs. Roxana Ilinescu, Mrs. Caroline Brandão, Miss Sharon Small, and also all the ITU team in Geneva and also in the regional office here in Americas that helped us during these days. Very important, guys, very important. The interpreters from the sound and the interpreters of sign. You make this possible. because without you, we would not have the contact to share the views that this event is based on. Technicians, members of the media, reception groups, and all those who worked anonymously to make this conference a success. And also you, the participants, without whom we could not have had a meeting. Thank you so much for your time. Just to conclude, I received that information 5 minutes before my closing speech. So I think it's important to share with you this. It's also something very practical. We have one country in the region that is Paraguay. Paraguay has a law from 2008. The law is the number 3845. And this law is a law that imposes that 5% of all people that work for the government should be persons with disabilities. Paraguay has this law. And I received the information that, I don't know if I changed to Spanish, but I will continue in English, that one person that works for Conatel, for the regulator, received today from the board. I will change to the Spanish, ask for the interpreters. Yo voy a cambiar para español para decir que la señora Gabriela Martínez Vilalba, hoy, el día de hoy, recibió su nombramiento
her nomination for the job to be with Conatel. So Gabrielle received this nomination and she now has become a permanent officer in Conatel. So congratulations to her. Congratulations, Gabrielle. Oh.
To finish, I think it's important to show that it's small things, but it's something that is changing people's lives. I think, as I said, if with these events we can change 1, 2, 3 histories, for me is something that it's worth. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today is an indication of your awareness that access to ICT is access to information, knowledge, capacity building, and an improved life.
ICT can create a more peaceful and sustainable world for humanity.
We strive for equity, that is ensuring that persons with disabilities are able to access technologies that can improve their lives.
So we want to connect with the term nothing about us without us.
We should work with passion to make sure that we include all humanity, to make sure that we create value to our societies using ICT.
Ms. Joaquin Murray, Mr. Bruno Ramos, thank you for your remarks. Our main address will be made by none other than the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang. Dr. Chang is a medical doctor by profession who who has served in both the public and private sectors, where he has made significant contributions in both areas to the development of a modern public health system. Elected as Member of Parliament for Western Hanover at the tender age of 27 years, he served that constituency until 1989. Thereafter, he was elected as a Member of Parliament for North Western St. James and has been its MP its Member of Parliament, since 2002. As Minister with responsibility for housing, environment, and water, Dr. Chang conceptualized the largest major water supply improvement system, that is, a US $211 million Jamaica Water Supply Improvement Project. Dr. Chang has served in many capacities, both in government as well as in the Jamaica Labour Party. He is presently the Minister of National Security. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to help me make welcome the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang. Always a pleasure, Dr. Chang. Thank you.
Our moderator, Acting Permanent Secretary Mrs. Joaquin Murray, and Permanent Secretary Mrs. Risden, who is, I think, somewhere in the audience. Our IT Regional Director for Office of the Americas Region, Mr. Ramos, who I just heard from. I gather our Chairman of our Universal Service Fund, Mr. Lawrence, is here as representative. And there are some 220 participants from 26 countries, many partners, sponsors, and members of the media, and visiting ladies and gentlemen. First, it's my privilege to be here, and I gather my only responsibility is to really commend all the organizers and participants and wish you a safe trip home. Thank you for having come to Jamaica. But if I may say it in Jamaican, I gather you had a very airy conference. Now, I was called just to give the closing address this morning, I guess, partly because I'm in charge of government for a short while, and it's a privilege I get to do from time to time, and I guess it does cause some responsibility. But when I was called first, I was told you had to come and speak at a conference on accessibility. And of course, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security knows me quite well, and I was told to speak with her. So the first thing I thought of was wheelchairs and access to buildings and all that kind of stuff that is usually an issue even up to now in most societies. Of course, after going through several telephone discussions with the cell phone, which was a little bit difficult to hear everything, and I realized we're talking about access to technology and, of course, access to everyone. And my thoughts switched to something else, which was someone, actually, as we thought of technology and access. And I thought of, I'm from a medical background, Stephen Hawkins, who was maybe the modern time most important theoretical physicist. But at some point in his later life, Stephen Hawkins was only speaking from using one muscle in his cheek, and demonstrated the use of technology in a very critical way, and allowed Stephen Hawkins to continue to make a major contribution to one of the most complex and difficult areas of modern intellectual life, right up to the very end of his life. And then I realized that this is what access technology is, one of those things that critically, what technology does, it can level the playing field. Mr. Ramos explained that maybe 15% of the world's population have some disability. But the truth is, while we have had struggles with how to allow those who are physically disabled or disabled anyway to participate fully in society, I think technology, as it is emerging, is beginning to level that playing field. That irrespective of a disability, you can, if we organize our society efficiently, all individuals can participate on an equal platform in the society. And I expect, from what I've been told, it's the kind of thing that this conference was looking at. And I want to commend the organizers and welcome you to Jamaica, because this country is a country that likes to think that the government as it is today and the country is moving in a direction which allows for accessibility by all. We have a Prime Minister who is very deeply committed to transforming the government and the service in Jamaica. He's a relatively young Prime Minister, younger than I am, and therefore much more familiar with the technological age and the internet age, and has really set the government on a path that we expect to ensure that technology will in fact not only allow for access, but allow for the wider population to overcome some of many challenges. Those who might be physically disabled, but those who are socially disabled as well. So we see technology as allowing us to intervene quickly and efficiently in vulnerable communities and reach out to unattached youths, both those who are just socially disabled and those who are physically and financially disabled. Technology, as I said, would appear to be in today's world the great leveler of the playing field. And it is up to the governments to ensure that societies can, in fact, the countries organize to ensure that technology is put to maximum use. The small developing country, we have to move in that direction. We have had years of an economy which was relatively stagnant. But as the world moves on, if we don't utilize technology, we will run into serious problems. It is our objective to ensure that we can not only organize our economy at the macro level, but to ensure the use of technology to provide opportunities for all our people and move, as our Prime Minister often say, the population from a state of poverty to prosperity. It in fact is the object of most countries of the world today, in fact all countries. The challenge of the modern world, while we have had still have many discontent, most countries are focused on how they can begin to grow their economy, raise the majority of the people out of poverty, and create a far more healthy socioeconomic environment. The historical trend was for kind of industrial, then moving from industrial to post-industrial society. In the industrial era, there was tend to be maximum use of labor, and as salaries are often quite exploitative. Technology is now giving us the opportunity to move from one level to the other without going through that kind of what could be considered almost feudal phase of society. It still has to be managed, it still has to be well managed and projected in our society, and government have to use the resources efficiently. This government has done a number of things. We have the Universal Service Fund, which is used to take technology, tablets in schools, and using, along with the actual physical instrument, access to the internet allows schools in very depressed areas to begin to access quality education. It allows those who might be physically impaired also to be part of that, because many of our poor schools, which is not often recognized, are schools in depressed areas. You have kids who are impaired. I once went to a small school in a vulnerable area, poor district, and the kids who were considered dunce were put in the back of the room. I think dunce, understandable, right? The slow kids. And they were used in the back of the room and seen as either rude or indisciplined or not learning. And I had the privilege of inviting someone from the Society for the Deaf to check the students in the school. And it turned out the majority of the kids were in the back of the class and considered slow learners, considered indisciplined individuals, and not able to graduate and go to school, were actually having a hearing problem. And in providing them with hearing aids, all of them, in fact, did much better. And I think that year was about 12 of them were old enough to the matriculation exam, as we call common entrance in Jamaica, to go to high school, which was moving from the primary level. And all 12 of them, in fact, did get through their exam that year when they were all put to sit in the back of the room and considered slow learners who were incapable of graduating from primary school. I refer to that because that's a typical example of basic technology allowing someone who's impaired to access the kind of facility, access information, access knowledge, and begin to play an equal role. It leveled the playing field. They were doing better than some of the kids who were supposed to be much brighter than they were. Universal Service Fund is therefore one of those funds we are using to level the playing field for our children, to work with unattached youths. In fact, the Ministry of Science and Technology created a short-term employment program called Technology Advancement Project. We sought to engage 1,000 unattached youths from difficult areas and brought them in to receive training in digitization, data collection, gave them valuable work experience and had them certified that they could begin to work with the government and assist the government too in digitizing some of our records and activities. There are other programs we're working with in terms of taking Wi-Fi into public locations, setting up contact points with the computers where you can get kids to not only learn, actually but become familiar with the technology age, get into the internet. In the Ministry of National Security, we are working not only to use it to advance and expand our capacity in the police force, which it does have the capacity to do, but when we go into a community with cameras and with other monitoring activity, we bring free internet service and Wi-Fi service so that the communities which are vulnerable and have humble families, we can in fact take it there and again introduce the children to the world of the internet, which is really introduce them to the entire world of knowledge. And again, they can get to do homework, they can do access to research at all levels and begin to really provide opportunities that all those who are in need can get, and certainly those who are physically, mentally, and physically impaired. And of course, there are even some mental illness, which depression, that can be treated and assisted in terms of treatment when you have access to technology. So it's really my pleasure to say a few comments in closing, but again, let me conclude by commending all those who have been organizing these conferences, to have offered my late welcome to Jamaica. I gather we now go to Ecuador on the next round, and we look forward to going to one of our Latin American partners. But technology in this sector of the world, and certainly in societies like small and developing states and Jamaica, can play a very major role in ensuring that those who may have some disablement, whether it is physical or otherwise disabled, and those who are also challenged socially. So we're looking at, in this region, women, girls, elderly, unattached youth, members of indigenous group in particular, the young persons with various disabilities, special needs, or different able at all can have access to the social services and to the opportunities that the modern world offers. Again, let me commend all of you, the organized conference. I didn't have the privilege of joining you, but from all who have attended, I've had the privilege of speaking to, and they are a fairly large Jamaican delegation. I heard extremely good things, and I look forward that the lessons learned will provide the basis for some programs and policies that will continue to expand the use of technology in building our communities and helping to move all of our people from poverty into prosperity, and in particular to give our disabled and socially deprived individuals great opportunities. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish for you a very safe trip back home to where we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chang. I'm going to invite Mr. Bruno Ramos to make a presentation to the government of Jamaica. Dr. Chang. Thank you. Sorry. That's okay. And I'm going to invite the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry to also receive a presentation as well from Mr. Ramos. Thank you, gracias, thank you, has been the word that we have heard this afternoon for a wonderful conference, for all that we have learned. However, to give the official vote of thanks, I'm going to invite Mr. Cecil McCain from the Ministry of Science and Technology to join me at the lectern. And whilst Mr. McCain joins, Dr. Chang has to take his leave. Yes. Sure. Oh, would you like to say anything?
My apologies. I have a very important appointment at the hospital, so I have to run off. But thank you very much, and really I wish for your continued success in this conference. And when you go to Ecuador, our prime minister is in Argentina right now, but we look forward to the activity in Ecuador next year, and I'm sure Jamaica will be well represented. But I understand we have learned a lot from this conference, and both places are here. We will see what we can do to continue to expand the services through accessibility. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, could we stand and show appreciation to Dr. Chang for joining us this afternoon? Mr. McCain?
Thank you very much, everyone. Dr. the Honorable Horace Sang, Minister of National Security, of course, just left. Ms. Joaquin Murray, Acting Permanent Secretary, Minister of Science and Technology. Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden, Permanent Secretary in Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Mr. Bruno Ramos, ITU Regional Director for the Americas, Office of the Americas Region. Our partners, the Office of Utilities Regulation and the Universal Service Fund. Our sponsors, eLearning Jamaica Limited, the Spectrum Management Authority. Members of the media, or over 220 participants from 26 countries. Our service providers, hotel staff, ladies and gentlemen all. Good afternoon. Having a firstborn, seen your first sunset, learn to drive, your first visit to the Hyatt Ziva Hotel. These are events which happen only once in a lifetime. The United Nations and its agencies, such as the International Telecommunications Union, have established lofty goals to ensure that all persons experience the dignity of human existence, similar to the experiences I just shared and highlighted. However, not all of us will experience those specific firsts as just listed, but we all share a similar background to having several different firsts. Hosting an event such as this is not one that you would want to happen only once in a lifetime, as it provides an important platform for policy dialogue, capacity building, interpersonal exchanges, and networking to make society function the way we want it to. These are all important inventions necessary to make digital inclusion a reality for all. The government of Jamaica is committed to playing its role and contributing to the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals. Given the feedback I've had and received so far at this conference, Accessible Americas 5, has certainly provided the necessary platform for the acceleration of our efforts to ensure digital inclusion for all, including peoples with disabilities, the elderly, women and girls, and I'm sure our Minister Chang, who just left, this will resonate with him, unattached youths. But my task this afternoon, as chair of the local planning committee, is not to give another presentation, but to thank all who have made this event a reality. So first, let me thank you all that are here. We are not the least of the apostles. We are all here to share similar experiences to ensure that we all have the dignity of human life. And as such, we have all contributed in one way to that dialogue going forward. And as I said on the first day when I got here, what I hope us all to come away from with this is that we all will ensure that accessibility is no longer a word that symbolizes special persons, but that accessibility is something that we all will have to achieve, because in some way in our life, there are special needs that we have, that using using technology, we can use it to bridge the gap that we all experience in human life. So special thanks, first of all, to the International Telecommunications Union to allow the Jamaica government to host this event. Mr. Ramos and your team, we were elated when the offer came on the table, and we are thankful that this day has finally come. Anna, Caroline, Cleveland, you've all worked behind the scenes with the team from the ITU, working very hard to ensure that we coordinate activities to ensure that all the persons here represented will have the best experience and exchange the best of ideas. To the Hyatt Ziva Hotel and staff, our host venue, thank you all for the excellent service that you have provided us here. Of course, this event would not be what it is without our partners. And I want to highlight the Office of Utilities Regulations, who has been with us from the very beginning of this journey, supporting us all the way. And I especially mention them in that way because they are not, as an independent regulator, they're not obligated necessarily to be with us at the table. And you know, for those of you who work in government, you can't demand that they're there sitting at the table with you. But they have willingly come to the table, giving up their resources and time to ensuring the success of this conference. The Director General, Mr. Hewitt, thank you very much. I know you have loaned us your team member, Ms. Chana, who really needs an office in our office location rather than upstairs, because she has been with us so many days at so many meetings to ensure the conference is what it is. Thank you again, Mr. Hewitt and your team, and Ms. Chana for all your efforts. The Universal Service Fund, another of our partners, is an agency of our ministry, our brainchild, our vision. But it plays a special role in ensuring and enabling the things and activities that normal regulation cannot do. They allow for policy interventions where needed to ensure that the goals that are deemed necessary to be achieved by the government are achieved. They have been also a partner at the table from the very beginning. In fact, they were with us in Costa Rica when the announcement was made. They were with us, I'll probably go a little bit further back, when the cabinet gave permission for this activity to take place. They were with us at that table to ensure that the success of this conference. And so I want to extend a thank you to the Universal Service Fund, the chairman who was here earlier, Mr. Lawrence, Deline, who has also been a valuable member of the planning committee. Thank you very much for all your inputs. And I wish and ask you to convey our heartiest thank you to members of the Universal Service Fund for all the efforts that they have made. There have been several sponsors that we have for this event. The Jamaica Tourist Board, and I'm sure many of you who came in from overseas would know that as you hit the airport and you disembark the plane, you were greeted by a host who assisted you in one way or the other to ensure the comfort of your process from immigration to reaching to this hotel. We thank you for all your efforts. Many of the gifts that you received were sponsored by them. We also thank the Jamaica well, not so much a sponsor, Jamaica Tours, a service provider, for also their efforts in ensuring a comfortable ride. Finally, our home team. The e-learning Jamaica Company Limited, the Spectrum Management Authority, the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team are all sponsors who stepped up to the plate in providing support in one way or the other. We thank you for all your efforts in this regard. Dr. Guntley, I'm not quite sure if you're sitting in this room. I'm not seeing where you are. If you are, please raise your hand. As is per usual, she is behind the scenes working very hard to ensure that right up until the very end, we all have a great experience. I thank her and her team, Arlene and Alvin, two key persons who have worked very hard to ensure all the arrangements, hotel arrangements, transportation arrangements, protocol arrangements, working in conjunction with the ministry, coordinating with the ITU at all hours of the night. I'm sure Caroline and Anna knows when she gets the calls at 11, 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, which translates to 2 hours ahead for Brazil, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. She worked very hard to ensure the coordination of this activity. The staff at this ministry, led by our Permanent Secretary, Ms. Joaquin Murray. Of course, you appointed me to chair this committee, and I thank you for that opportunity. But I could not have done it without the immense contribution of the staff at the ministry. Many of them working behind the scenes, unnoticed, unnamed. But they have been here with me at the table to ensure its success. Finally, I get back to you, your audience. Let us come away from here to ensure that accessibility is mainstreamed in all that we do. It's not an afterthought, but it's something that's in the forefront of the activities that we do, in the policies we implement, in the institutions that we build. Let us walk away from here to ensure that this conference will mean more to the people of Jamaica, to the people of 26 countries that are here participating. Let us come away from here with the resolve that we will make accessibility something that we all, as a matter of normal activity, do as we build our institutions, as we interact with technology, as we interact with people. Let accessibility be that mantra to ensure that all our needs as peoples are met through digital inclusion. Thank you again for being here, and I wish you all a safe journey back home to wherever you live. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCain. And guess what? We're done. We're done. So I promised an on-time departure. I did, and I must confess that we forgot to indicate earlier that the flight would have been a little delayed, only by half an hour. But we're now ready to board, and following on the tradition of everyone who has gone before, thank you, safe trip. Before you go, a few housekeeping matters. The following persons have a special little gift awaiting them in the Accessible Americas Regional Office, and that is information about how you're going to get home. Joel Ali, Leslie Sobers, Mr. N. Gadiman, Wendy Clasp Japajo, hope I got that right now, Fally Herard, Urania Williams, Donella Collision, Louis Mauch, Anna Marie Chacon, my apologies, Yamil Torcas, Odalis Nunez Licio, Alexia Angula, Eniorca Rodriguez, Morel Orta, Desmond Regis, Natoya Cassius, Udali Wickham Ashby, Krista Burke Medford, Grace Harmon, Monica Ackerman, Roberta Cantalero, and Claudia Gordon. Could you kindly visit the regional office, which is located to the back of this building? Just a gentle reminder, if you have misplaced a power bank, we have it as well, and you don't have to go home power bank poorer. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm just as you pack up to go, I've been advised that the Secretariat is reminding all persons who need to have all persons who require airport transfers and transportation to the airport, you're kindly being asked to reconfirm your time with the Secretariat to ensure that arrangements are in place for you. Thank you so much.